The morning sun filtered through the blinds of the Horizon Industries building as Tyler rushed through the hallway, his mind racing with everything he needed to accomplish before noon. It was only his third week at the company, and he was determined to make a good impression on the team. The quarterly presentation was in 15 minutes, and as the newest member of the marketing department, he wanted to show everyone he belonged. Tyler balanced a stack of presentation folders in one hand and a large cup of orange juice in the other. He hadn't had time for breakfast, and the juice was his attempt at having something in his stomach before the big meeting. The hallway was mostly empty this early, with only a few people trickling in for the day. If I nail this presentation, Mrs. Cho might finally give me a chance at the Lincoln account, he muttered to himself, rehearsing key points in his head as he walked. The hallway curved around the corner toward the conference rooms, and Tyler picked up his pace. He was so focused on not dropping the folders that he didn't notice the woman stepping out from the break room. The collision happened in slow motion. Tyler felt his body bump against something solid. He heard a sharp intake of breath. The orange juice tipped forward, creating an arc of bright liquid that seemed to hang in the air for a heartbeat before landing with a splash. "Oh," came a startled voice. Tyler steadied himself and looked up, his heart sinking as he realized what had happened. A woman stood before him, looking down in shock at her once pristine white blouse now sporting an unmistakable orange stain that spread across the expensive-looking fabric. "I'm so sorry," Tyler blurted out, frantically trying to juggle the folders to free his hands. "I didn't see you coming around the corner." The woman was tall and elegant with rich dark skin and hair pulled back in a professional bun. Her outfit, a tailored white blouse and charcoal pencil skirt, screamed executive status, though Tyler didn't recognize her. She wasn't wearing a company badge, which made him assume she was probably a client or consultant. "It's fine," she said, though her expression suggested it was anything but. She reached for the box of tissues on a nearby table. "Here, let me help," Tyler said, setting down his folders and grabbing a handful of napkins from the water station. He began dabbing at the stain, which only seemed to make it worse, spreading the juice in a wider circle. "I can handle it," the woman said firmly, stepping back from his attempts. There was dignity in her voice, a quiet authority that made Tyler stop immediately. He noticed people watching now. Penny from accounting had stopped in the hallway, her mouth slightly open. The IT guy, what was his name? Doug was staring with wide eyes. A cleaning staff member had paused, pushing her cart, looking uncomfortable. "I really am sorry," Tyler said, feeling his face grow hot. "I was rushing to this meeting and it happens." The woman cut him off with a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. Perhaps walking a bit slower next time would be wise. Tyler nodded, suddenly aware of how careless he must seem. "Can I get you something?" "Another blouse, maybe? We have company shirts in the supply room." The woman raised an eyebrow. "A company polo shirt?" She glanced down at her designer outfit. "I think I'll manage without, thank you." Something about the way everyone was watching made Tyler feel like he was missing something important. The woman dabbed at her blouse with the tissue, maintaining perfect composure despite the situation. Do I know you?" Tyler asked, trying to place why everyone seemed so shocked by what was just an unfortunate accident. "No," she replied simply. "You don't." Penny from accounting suddenly appeared at the woman's side. "Mrs. Richardson, let me help you to the restroom. We can try to clean that up properly." Mrs. Richardson. The name meant nothing to Tyler, but clearly it meant something to everyone else in the hallway. "Thank you, Penny," the woman said, her voice warm with familiarity. Always so helpful. As Penny led the woman toward the restrooms, Tyler stood awkwardly in the hallway, juice dripping from his empty cup onto his shoes. The spectators began to disperse, some shaking their heads, others whispering to each other. "Dude," came a voice beside him. Tyler turned to find Raj, a fellow marketing associate who had started just a month before him. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" "Spilled juice on someone?" Tyler replied, confused by the gravity in Raj's tone. Raj ran a hand through his hair. "That wasn't just someone. That was Vanessa Richardson." The name still meant nothing to Tyler. "Should I know who that is?" Raj lowered his voice. "She's married to Devin Richardson. You know, the CEO of the entire company?" Tyler felt his stomach drop. The CEO's wife, on his third week. The orange juice on his shoes suddenly seemed like the least of his problems. "The CEO? But I thought he was based in the New York office," Tyler stammered. remembering fragments from his orientation. He is, mostly, but they're both in town this week for the board meeting. Raj looked genuinely concerned for Tyler. Man, of all the people to spill juice on. Tyler glanced toward the restroom where Mrs. Richardson had disappeared. I should apologize again. Properly this time. I'd give her some space, Raj advised. And maybe update your resume tonight, just in case. The comment wasn't reassuring. Tyler picked up his scattered folders, his mind racing. Would he be fired over this? It was an accident, but the way he had handled it, rushing his apology, trying to dab at her blouse, not even recognizing who she was, suddenly seemed like a series of critical mistakes. I need to get to the meeting, Tyler said, though his enthusiasm for the presentation had evaporated. Good luck, Raj said with a grimace. Word travels fast around here. Bet everyone knows already. Tyler walked into the conference room feeling like everyone was staring at him, though most people were just setting up their materials. Mrs. Cho, the marketing director, was arranging her notes at the head of the table. Tyler, you're cutting it close, she said without looking up. We start in 3 minutes. Sorry, Mrs. Cho, there was an incident in the hallway. He took his seat, arranging the slightly crumpled folders. An incident? She repeated, finally looking at him. I accidentally spilled juice on someone, he admitted, deciding honesty was the best approach. On Mrs. Richardson, actually. Mrs. Cho's expression shifted from mild annoyance to alarm. Vanessa Richardson? The CEO's wife? Tyler nodded miserably. The room, which had been filled with pre-meeting chatter, fell silent as people turned to listen. Mrs. Cho closed her eyes briefly. We'll discuss this after the meeting. For now, let's focus on the presentation. But the look she gave him made it clear this wasn't over. Throughout the presentation, Tyler struggled to focus. He delivered his portion without his usual enthusiasm, his mind replaying the hallway incident over and over. Each time he thought of better ways he could have handled it, being more attentive to his surroundings, offering a more sincere apology, recognizing the importance of the person he'd bumped into. After the meeting, several colleagues stopped by his desk, some offering sympathy, others clearly enjoying his predicament. Heard you made quite the impression on Mrs. Richardson, said Layla from the creative team, trying to suppress a smile. Bold strategy for getting noticed around here. Not funny, Tyler replied, sorting through emails without really reading them. Just trying to lighten the mood, Layla said. But seriously, don't worry too much. Accidents happen. But Tyler couldn't shake the feeling that this particular accident might cost him the job he'd worked so hard to get. By lunchtime, the story had spread throughout the office. As he sat alone in the break room with his sandwich, he noticed people glancing his way, their whispers not quite quiet. Enough, that's the guy who spilled juice all over. Richardson's wife. I heard he didn't even apologize properly. Bet. He'll be gone by the end of the week. Tyler picked at his food, appetite gone. All he had wanted was to blend in, do good work, and gradually make his mark at Horizon Industries. Instead, he had literally made his mark, a bright orange one, on the CEO's wife's white blouse. As the afternoon dragged on, Tyler waited for the inevitable summons from HR or Mrs. Cho, or maybe even the CEO himself. But no call came. The uncertainty was almost worse than facing consequences. Every time his phone rang or an email notification popped up, his heart raced. By 5 o'clock, most of the office had cleared out. Tyler stayed late, partly to show dedication and partly because he dreaded facing the same people tomorrow if he still had a job. As he worked on finalizing a project, footsteps approached his desk. Looking up, he expected to see the cleaning crew, but instead found himself face to face with Penny from accounting. She's not upset, you know, Penny said without preamble. Sorry?
Mrs. Richardson. She's not upset about the juice.
She told me while I was helping her clean up. Tyler felt a glimmer of hope. Really? Did she say anything else? Penny hesitated. Just that accidents happen. But Tyler, she leaned in closer. You might want to learn who's who around here fast. With that cryptic advice, Penny left, leaving Tyler alone with his thoughts and the humming of the office air conditioning. He looked down at his desk, at the marketing materials he'd been working on so diligently. Would he even be here tomorrow to continue the project? As he packed up his things to leave, Tyler made a decision. If he still had a job in the morning, He would find a way to make a proper apology to Mrs. Richardson, and he would learn every important name and face in the company, from the board members to the major clients. He wouldn't be caught off guard again. If he got a second chance, he wouldn't waste it. Tyler barely slept that night. He tossed and turned, replaying the orange juice incident over and over in his mind. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw Mrs. Richardson's stained white blouse and the shocked faces of his co-workers. By morning, dark circles had formed under his eyes and his stomach felt like it was tied in knots. "It's just a job," he told himself as he got dressed. "If they fire me, I'll find another one." But he didn't believe his own pep talk. This position at Horizon Industries had been his dream for years. 3 weeks in, and he might have ruined everything because he couldn't balance a cup of juice. The morning commute felt like a journey to his own execution. As Tyler walked through the office doors, he half expected security guards to be waiting to escort him out. Instead, the receptionist greeted him with the same polite smile she gave everyone. "Morning, Tyler," she said. Nothing in her tone suggested he was about to be fired. Maybe the news hadn't reached her yet. Or maybe they wanted him to work a full day before letting him go. He made his way to his desk, noticing how conversations seemed to pause as he passed. A few colleagues gave him sympathetic looks. Others seemed to be watching with barely concealed curiosity, as if he were a character in some workplace drama. Raj appeared at his cubicle moments after Tyler sat down, coffee in hand and eyes wide with gossip. "Dude, you're still here," he whispered, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. "I honestly didn't think you'd make it past yesterday." "Thanks for the vote of confidence," Tyler replied dryly, turning on his computer. "No one said anything to me yet." "Well, you might want to brace yourself. The whole office is talking. About the juice? Still?" Tyler groaned. It was an accident. Raj perched on the edge of Tyler's desk. "Not just about the juice. About who Mrs. Richardson actually is." Tyler looked up from his screen. "What do you mean?" "She's the CEO's wife, right?" "Yeah, but she's not just arm candy." Raj leaned closer. "She's Vanessa Richardson, as in Richardson and Associates, the law firm that handles most of the corporate legal work for companies twice our size. She's one of the top corporate attorneys in the country." Tyler felt his mouth go dry. "So she's basically a legal powerhouse who could probably buy and sell this company if she wanted to," Raj finished. "And you tried to dab orange juice off her designer blouse with a napkin." The knot in Tyler's stomach tightened. "Why didn't anyone tell me this yesterday?" "You looked shell-shocked enough knowing she was the CEO's wife," Raj said with a shrug. "Figured the rest could wait." Before Tyler could respond, a notification popped up on his computer. A meeting request from Mrs. Cho, the marketing director. Subject: discussion about yesterday's incident. Time: 10 a.m. in 30 minutes. "That's it." "I'm done," Tyler said, showing Raj the screen. "Maybe not." Raj tried to sound encouraging. "Maybe they just want to hear your side." "What side?" "I wasn't looking where I was going and ruined an expensive blouse belonging to a woman who could probably sue me into the next century." Tyler ran a hand through his hair. "What am I supposed to say? The truth? That it was an accident and you're really sorry?" It sounded so simple when Raj said it, but Tyler knew corporate politics were rarely that straightforward. He spent the next half hour trying to focus on his work, while actually rehearsing what he would say to Mrs. Cho. Should he offer to pay for Mrs. Richardson's blouse? Would that make things better or worse? At 9:55, Tyler stood up, straightened his tie, and headed toward Mrs. Cho's office. His palms were sweating, and he wiped them on his pants as he walked. People watched him pass, a few whispering good luck, others simply staring. He felt like a man walking to the gallows. Mrs. Cho's office door was open. She was on the phone but waved him in when she saw him. Tyler took a seat, trying not to fidget as she finished her call. "Yes, the designs will be ready by Thursday. Thank you." She hung up and turned her attention to Tyler, her expression unreadable. "Tyler, thank you for coming." "Of course, Mrs. Cho. About yesterday." She held up a hand to stop him. "Before you say anything, I want you to understand the seriousness of what happened." Tyler nodded, his heart sinking. "Mrs. Richardson is not just the CEO's wife. She's a respected professional in her own right and an important connection for this company. The way you handled the situation yesterday showed a lack of awareness that concerns me." "I understand," Tyler said quietly. "It was completely my fault, and I apologize." Mrs. Cho studied him for a moment. The issue isn't that you spilled juice, Tyler. Accidents happen. The issue is that you didn't seem to recognize the importance of making a proper professional apology. You were careless in how you handled the aftermath. Tyler wanted to defend himself but knew she was right. He had been so flustered that he'd treated the incident like bumping into any stranger on the street. Furthermore, Mrs. Cho continued, several people mentioned that you seemed completely unaware of who Mrs. Richardson was. As someone in marketing, you need to be aware of key figures connected to this company. You're right, Tyler admitted. I should have known who she was and I should have handled it better. Mrs. Cho's expression softened slightly. At least you're not making excuses. That's something. Am I being fired? Tyler asked, deciding to just get to the point. To his surprise, Mrs. Cho actually smiled slightly. No, Tyler, you're not being fired. Relief washed over him, quickly followed by confusion. I'm not? No, but consider this a warning. In this company, relationships matter. Awareness matters. Professionalism matters. She leaned forward. Mrs. Richardson actually called me this morning. Tyler felt his blood run cold. She did? Yes. She wanted to make sure I knew it was an accident and that she didn't want anyone overreacting. Apparently she noticed how terrified you looked. That was unexpected. Tyler had been so caught up in his own embarrassment that he hadn't considered Mrs. Richardson might actually be reasonable about the whole thing. She did mention, however, that you seemed quite dismissive of the situation. Mrs. Cho added, she said you were in such a hurry that you barely looked at her while apologizing. I was rushing to our meeting, Tyler explained, then immediately regretted it. It sounded like another excuse. Mrs. Cho nodded. And that's exactly my point. You prioritized getting to a meeting over properly handling a situation with someone important to this company. That's the kind of judgment call that concerns me. The office suddenly felt very warm. Tyler loosened his tie slightly. I understand. It won't happen again. I should hope not, Mrs. Cho said. But to make sure you fully understand the dynamics of this company, I'm assigning you to work with Lynn in the PR department for the rest of the week. She'll help you get familiar with all the key people connected to Horizon Industries. Tyler nodded, grateful for the second chance but dreading what amounted to corporate detention. And Tyler, Mrs. Cho added as he stood to leave, if you ever see Mrs. Richardson again, I suggest you make a proper apology. I will, he promised. Thank you for not firing me. Don't thank me yet, Mrs. Cho said, her expression serious again. The CEO is in town all week. I'd stay on your best behavior. Tyler left her office feeling like he'd dodged a bullet but was still in the line of fire. As he walked back to his desk, the whispers followed him. Still here? What happened? Did they let him off easy? Raj was waiting at his cubicle, practically bouncing with curiosity. Well, are you packing up your desk? No, Tyler said, still processing everything. I'm not fired. Seriously? That's great. Raj looked genuinely relieved. What did Cho say? That I need to learn who's who around here and be more professional. She's making me spend the week with Lynn from PR to learn about key figures. Raj winced. Lynn's intense. But hey, better than unemployment, right? I guess. Tyler sank into his chair. Mrs. Richardson actually called Cho this morning. Said she didn't want anyone overreacting about what happened. No way. Raj looked impressed. Maybe she's not as scary as everyone says. Or maybe she just didn't want to cause a scene over orange juice, Tyler said. Either way, I'm apparently getting a second chance. By lunchtime, word had spread that Tyler had survived the morning meeting with Mrs. Cho. Some colleagues seemed disappointed by the lack of drama, but others stopped by to express relief that he was staying. The place would be boring without your clumsy self around, Layla teased as she passed his desk. As promised, Tyler spent the afternoon with Lynn from PR, a no-nonsense woman who quizzed him relentlessly on company executives, board members, major clients, and yes, their spouses. Vanessa Richardson, Lynn said, pointing to a photo in a company magazine. Harvard Law. Founded Richardson and Associates 15 years ago. Married to Devin Richardson for 12 years. They have 2 children. She handles legal work for half the Fortune 500 and sits on 3 charitable boards. Remember her face? Tyler studied the photo. In it, Mrs. Richardson looked poised and confident, wearing another crisp white blouse with no orange stain in sight. I doubt I'll ever forget her now, he said quietly. Lynn looked at him with something between pity and amusement. You know, spilling juice on her might actually work in your favor eventually. How could that possibly help me? Because now she knows who you are, Lynn said simply. In a company this size, being known, even for something embarrassing, is better than being invisible. Just make sure your next interaction with her is more positive. Tyler nodded, wondering if there would even be a next interaction. Part of him hoped Mrs. Richardson would forget all about him and the juice incident. But another part, a part that surprised him, hoped he would get the chance to make a better impression on the woman everyone seemed to respect so much. As the day ended and Tyler packed up to leave, his phone buzzed with a text from Raj. Heard the CEO is touring the office tomorrow. Better bring a spill-proof cup. Tyler groaned and put his phone away. Day one of his second chance was ending, but the story was far from over. The whole office was watching now, waiting to see what would happen next to the guy who spilled juice on Vanessa Richardson. The next morning, Tyler arrived at work an hour early. If the CEO was really touring the office today, he wanted everything on his desk to look perfect. He arranged his marketing materials in neat stacks, wiped down his computer screen, and even brought a small plant to make his workspace look more professional. "Somebody's trying hard," said the cleaning lady, as she emptied the trash can by his desk. She was an older woman with kind eyes who had worked at the company for years. "The CEO is visiting today," Tyler explained, straightening a stack of papers for the third time. She nodded knowingly. "Ah, Mr. Richardson, he's actually very nice, you know. Not like some of the big bosses I've seen come through here." Tyler paused. "You've met him?" "Of course. I clean his office when he's in town." She smiled. "He always says thank you and remembers my name. That's more than I can say for most folks around here." Tyler found this information oddly comforting. Maybe the CEO was reasonable. Maybe he hadn't even heard about the juice incident. By 9 o'clock, the office was buzzing with anticipation. Everyone seemed to be wearing their best outfits and speaking in hushed tones. Tyler stuck close to his desk, working diligently on his current project and drinking water from a sealed bottle. No open containers of any kind today. Around 10, Raj appeared at his cubicle, excitement written all over his face. "He's here," Raj whispered. "Just went into the conference room with the executive team." Tyler nodded but kept working. He had decided his best strategy was to blend into the background as much as possible. "Aren't you curious?" Raj pressed. "The great Devin Richardson in the flesh." "I'm more curious about keeping my job," Tyler replied quietly. Raj rolled his eyes. "Come on, they're doing a floor walk in 15 minutes. Mrs. Cho sent an email. Everyone needs to be at their desks looking productive." Tyler's heart rate picked up. "A floor walk? As in walking past our desks? All of our desks?" "That's generally what a floor walk means, yes," Raj said with amusement. "Relax, he probably won't even notice you." But Tyler wasn't so sure. His desk was positioned along the main walkway. There was no way the tour could avoid passing by him. For the next 15 minutes, Tyler stared at his computer screen, not really seeing anything. His mind was racing with scenarios. Should he stand up when the CEO approached? Stay seated? Pretend to be on the phone? A sudden hush fell over the office, followed by the sound of footsteps and voices. Tyler kept his eyes glued to his screen, typing random letters just to look busy. "And this is our marketing department," came Mrs. Cho's voice, closer than Tyler expected. "We've recently reorganized to focus on digital-first strategies, which has increased our engagement metrics by 30%. Tyler could see from his peripheral vision that a group of people had stopped not far from his desk. He risked a glance up and immediately regretted it. There, standing just feet away, was a tall man in an impeccable suit who could only be Devin Richardson. Next to him stood Mrs. Cho and several other executives Tyler recognized from the company website. What made his stomach drop, however, was the person standing slightly behind the CEO. Vanessa Richardson, in a dark blue dress, her expression neutral as she surveyed the marketing department. Tyler quickly looked back at his screen, hoping neither of them had noticed him, but the universe seemed determined to make his life difficult. "We've also brought in some fresh talent," Mrs. Cho continued, gesturing in Tyler's direction. "Tyler joined our team just a few weeks ago. He's been working on the new campaign for Meridian Software." All eyes turned to him. Tyler had no choice but to look up and acknowledge the group. "Good morning," he managed to say, his voice steadier than he felt. Devin Richardson nodded politely. "The Meridian campaign? That's an important account for us." "Yes, sir," Tyler replied, trying to sound confident. "We're focusing on their cloud security features for the new ads." The CEO seemed about to move on when Vanessa Richardson stepped forward slightly, her head tilted as she studied Tyler. "Have we met?" she asked, though something in her tone suggested she knew exactly who he was. The entire group fell silent. Tyler felt his face grow hot as he met her gaze. "Yes, ma'am. Unfortunately, we had a brief encounter yesterday. I'm the one who spilled orange juice on your blouse. I want to apologize properly for that. It was completely my fault and I handled it poorly." He could hear a few executives inhale sharply. Mrs. Cho's expression was unreadable, but to Tyler's surprise, Vanessa Richardson's face softened slightly. "Accidents happen," she said simply, "though I did have to change my schedule to go shopping for a new blouse before my meeting." "I'm very sorry about that," Tyler said sincerely. Devin Richardson looked between his wife and Tyler, confusion giving way to understanding. So you're the orange juice guy," he said, and Tyler couldn't tell if there was amusement or annoyance in his voice. "My wife mentioned something about that." "I hope it didn't stain permanently," Tyler said, addressing Vanessa again. She shook her head. "Nothing my dry cleaner can't handle. But thank you for the proper apology this time." With that, the group moved on, continuing their tour of the department. Tyler exhaled slowly, feeling like he'd just survived a minor heart attack. As soon as they were out of earshot, Raj appeared beside him. "Dude," he whispered, eyes wide. "You just spoke to both Richardsons and lived to tell about it." "Barely," Tyler muttered, his hands still shaking slightly. "Actually, I think that went pretty well," said a voice behind them. They turned to find Layla from the creative team. "Mrs. Richardson seemed to accept your apology. And did you notice the CEO called you the orange juice guy? That means they talked about you. Is that supposed to make me feel better?" Tyler asked. Layla shrugged. "Being memorable isn't always a bad thing. Now you're not just another new hire. You're orange juice guy," Tyler groaned. "Great, that's exactly the professional reputation I was hoping for." "Could be worse," Raj pointed out. "At least they didn't fire you on the spot." For the rest of the morning, Tyler tried to focus on his work, but his mind kept replaying the interaction with the Richardsons. Had he said the right things? Did they think he was an idiot? Would this follow him for his entire career at the company? By lunchtime, the executive tour had moved to another floor, and the marketing department relaxed back into its normal routine. Tyler was just unwrapping his sandwich in the break room when his phone buzzed with an email notification. He nearly choked when he saw the sender, Devin Richardson. With shaking hands, he opened the email. "Tyler, I appreciated your candor this morning regarding the incident with my wife. Accountability is a rare quality these days. I've heard good things about your work on the Meridian campaign. Mrs. Cho tells me you have a fresh perspective that might be valuable as we rethink our approach to that market. I'd like to get your input. Are you available to stop by the executive conference room at 3 p.m. today for a brief discussion? Devin Richardson, CEO, Horizon Industries." Tyler read the email 3 times, convinced he must be misunderstanding something. The CEO wanted to meet with him today? He rushed back to his desk where he found Raj and showed him the email. "No way," Raj said, reading it with growing disbelief. "This has to be a joke. Or maybe it's a test." "What kind of test?" Tyler asked, still staring at the screen. "I don't know. To see if you'll actually show up? To see if you'll spill something else?" Raj shook his head. "This is weird, man. Should I go?" Tyler asked. "Of course you should go," Layla said, appearing beside them. Word traveled fast in this office. The CEO doesn't invite junior staff to meetings unless he actually wants something. This could be huge for you. By the time 3 o'clock rolled around, Tyler had changed his shirt. He kept a spare in his desk drawer, practiced what he might say about the Meridian campaign, and received advice from half the marketing department. Be confident but not cocky. Don't talk too much. Bring something to take notes with. For God's sake, don't bring any beverages. The executive conference room was on the top floor, in an area Tyler had never visited before. As he stepped out of the elevator, he felt distinctly out of place. Everything here was sleeker, quieter, more expensive looking than the floors below. A receptionist directed him to the conference room, where he knocked tentatively on the door. "Come in," called a voice that he recognized as Devin Richardson's. Tyler opened the door, surprised to find the CEO alone in the large room. reviewing some documents at the table. Ah, Tyler, thank you for coming. Richardson stood and gestured to a chair across from him. Have a seat. Tyler sat down, trying to appear calm and professional despite his racing heart. I imagine you're wondering why I called this meeting, Richardson said, studying him with interest. Yes, sir, Tyler admitted. It's not every day I get an email from the CEO. Richardson smiled slightly. I'll get straight to the point. The Meridian account is important to us, but we're losing market share to competitors who are positioning themselves as more innovative. Mrs. Cho mentioned you had some ideas about this that weren't being implemented in the current campaign. Tyler was surprised. He had indeed shared some thoughts with Mrs. Cho last week, but he hadn't expected them to travel up the chain of command. I did have a few suggestions, he said cautiously. Their cloud security is excellent, but everyone in the industry talks about security. I think we should focus on how their solutions actually make work more efficient and creative. Security that enables rather than just protects. Richardson nodded, looking thoughtful. That's an interesting angle. Very different from our current approach. Sometimes a fresh perspective helps, Tyler said, then immediately worried he sounded presumptuous. But Richardson didn't seem offended. Indeed it does. He paused, then added with a hint of amusement, even from the orange juice guy. Tyler felt his face flush. About that, sir, Richardson waved a hand. My wife told me what happened. She also told me you gave a proper apology today. That matters to me. People who can acknowledge their mistakes tend to be the same people who learn from them. Tyler didn't know what to say to that, so he simply nodded. I'd like you to draft some concepts based on your ideas for the Meridian campaign, Richardson continued. Send them directly to me by Friday. If I like what I see, we might have you join the presentation to their executives next week. Tyler's eyes widened. Join the... You want me to present to Meridian? If your ideas are good enough, yes. Richardson stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Don't look so shocked. Everyone gets an opportunity to prove themselves at some point. This is yours. As Tyler rose to leave, still processing what had just happened, Richardson added, and Tyler, maybe stick to water in the presentation. For the first time since the juice incident, Tyler found himself laughing genuinely. Definitely, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. As he walked back to the elevator, Tyler couldn't believe how much had changed in just 24 hours. Yesterday, he'd been certain his career at Horizon was over. Today, he had a direct assignment from the CEO himself. Maybe Layla was right. Being memorable wasn't always a bad thing. News of Tyler's private meeting with the CEO spread through the office like wildfire. By the next morning, people who had never spoken to him before were suddenly stopping by his desk to introduce themselves. I hear Richardson's giving you a shot at the Meridian presentation, said a guy from sales whose name Tyler couldn't remember. Bold move for someone who's been here less than a month. Just working on some concept ideas, Tyler replied, trying to downplay the situation. The last thing he needed was to create jealousy among his coworkers. Raj, who had appointed himself Tyler's unofficial PU, place relations manager, had a different approach. My man Tyler here is revolutionizing the Meridian campaign, he told anyone who would listen. The CEO recognized his talent. That's why he got a personal invitation to the executive floor. Tyler groaned. Could you please stop saying that? You're making it sound much bigger than it is. Am I, though? Raj raised an eyebrow. The CEO of a billion-dollar company asked to see your ideas. That's not nothing. Maybe Raj had a point, but Tyler was determined to keep his head down and focus on the task at hand. He had 2 days to come up with concepts that would impress not just any boss, but Devin Richardson himself. The pressure was enormous. Mrs. Cho called him into her office later that morning. Her expression was hard to read as Tyler took a seat across from her desk. So, she began, folding her hands. You've managed to go from nearly getting fired to having the CEO's direct attention. That's quite a turnaround. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. It wasn't planned, Mrs. Cho. I'm as surprised as anyone. She studied him for a moment. I hope you realize what's happening here. This is a test, Tyler. Richardson is watching to see what you're made of. I understand. Tyler nodded. And I won't let him down. Or you. This isn't just about you, Mrs. Cho continued. Your work will reflect on this entire department. If your ideas are good, we all look good. If they fall flat, she let the thought hang in the air. I'll make sure they don't fall flat, Tyler promised. Mrs. Cho's expression softened slightly. For what it's worth, I think you have potential. That's why I mentioned your ideas to Richardson in the first place. Tyler blinked in surprise. You did? But I thought, after the juice incident. The juice has nothing to do with your work, Mrs. Cho said firmly. I was hard on you about that because professional behavior matters in this company. But so does talent. And you have good instincts about what clients need. It was the closest thing to a compliment Tyler had received from his boss, and it boosted his confidence considerably. Thank you for the opportunity, he said sincerely. I won't waste it. See that you don't, Mrs. Cho replied, but there was a hint of warmth in her voice. Now go work on those concepts. I expect to see them before you send anything to Richardson. For the next 2 days, Tyler threw himself into the Meridian project. He stayed late, arrived early, and even skipped lunch to work through his ideas. This wasn't just about impressing the CEO anymore. It was about proving to himself that he belonged at Horizon Industries. On Thursday afternoon, he sent his concepts to Mrs. Cho for review. She returned them an hour later with only minor suggestions and a brief note. Good work. Ready for Richardson. Taking a deep breath, Tyler attached the files to an email addressed to Devin Richardson. His finger hovered over the send button for a full minute before he finally clicked it. And now we wait. He murmured to himself. He didn't have to wait long. That evening, as he was packing up to leave, his phone buzzed with an email notification. Tyler. Impressive concepts. Your approach addresses exactly what Meridian needs right now. A shift from fear-based security marketing to enabling productivity. I especially like the freedom to create tagline. I've added you to the presentation team for Monday's meeting. The marketing group will gather tomorrow at 2 p.m. in conference. Room B to finalize details. Mrs. Cho will brief you on your role. Looking forward to seeing how Meridian responds to these ideas. Devin Richardson, CEO, Horizon Industries. Tyler read the email twice, a grin spreading across his face. The CEO liked his concepts. He was actually going to present to Meridian. His hands shook slightly as he forwarded the email to Mrs. Cho with a quick note. Just received this from Mr. Richardson. See you at tomorrow's meeting. On his way home, Tyler called his mother, who had been anxiously waiting for updates since the orange juice disaster. Mom, you won't believe what happened, he said as soon as she answered. Oh no, what now? She asked, clearly bracing for bad news. No, it's good this time. Tyler laughed. Really good. The CEO liked my ideas. I'm presenting to a major client on Monday. His mother's squeal of delight was so loud he had to hold the phone away from his ear. I knew it, she exclaimed. I told you things would work out. This is your moment, baby. It's just one presentation. Tyler tried to temper her enthusiasm. It's your foot in the door, she insisted. And all because you spilled juice on the right person. Tyler shook his head, smiling. I don't think there's ever a right person to spill juice on, Mom. Well, it worked out for you, didn't it? She said. Sometimes our biggest mistakes lead to our biggest opportunities. Tyler thought about that as he rode the bus home. His mother had a point. If he hadn't spilled that juice, he'd still be just another anonymous new hire in the marketing department. Now, for better or worse, people knew who he was, including the company's top executives. Friday's meeting was intense. The presentation team consisted of Mrs. Cho, 2 senior marketing managers, a graphic designer, and now Tyler. He was easily the most junior person in the room, but when Mrs. Cho asked him to explain his concept, everyone listened attentively. Meridian's competitors all focus on threats, hackers, data breaches, security failures, Tyler explained. They're selling fear. But Meridian's real strength is how seamlessly their security integrates with workflows. It doesn't slow people down. It actually helps them work better. That's why I think we should position them as the security solution that enables creativity and productivity, not just prevents problems. One of the senior managers, a man named Phil who had been with the company for 20 years, looked skeptical. Security is about protection. That's what clients care about. With respect, Tyler said carefully, I think clients care about getting their work done without interruptions. Yes, they need protection, but they don't want to think about it all the time. They want security that gets out of the way. Mrs. Cho nodded. That's essentially the feedback we've been getting from Meridian's users. They like the product because they barely notice it's there, unlike their previous solution. The discussion continued, with the team refining the presentation based on Tyler's initial concepts. By the end of the meeting, even Phil seemed convinced. "You've got good instincts, kid," he told Tyler as they gathered their materials. "Just don't get nervous on Monday. Richardson will be watching." As if Tyler needed the reminder, the thought of presenting in front of not just the Meridian executives but also his own CEO made his stomach twist with anxiety. What if he froze up? What if they hated his ideas? The weekend passed in a blur of preparation. Tyler rehearsed his part of the presentation until he could recite it in his sleep. He picked out his best suit, got a haircut, and even practiced standing without fidgeting. Monday morning arrived with a mix of excitement and terror. Tyler arrived at work an hour early, reviewed his notes one last time, and then headed to the executive conference room where the presentation would take place. Mrs. Cho was already there, setting up the projector. "Good morning, Tyler. Ready for the big moment?" "As ready as I'll ever be," he replied, adjusting his tie for the 5th time that morning. "Remember, you're only handling the concept overview and rationale," she said. "Phil will cover the implementation details and I'll handle the budget and timeline. Just stick to what you know best, the creative vision." Tyler nodded, grateful that he wouldn't have to speak about parts of the campaign he was less familiar with. The rest of the team arrived, followed soon after by Devin Richardson. The CEO greeted everyone warmly, giving Tyler an encouraging nod. "Meridian's team is running a few minutes late," Richardson announced. "Traffic issues. Should be here shortly." Those few minutes felt like hours to Tyler as they waited. His mouth was dry and he wished he had brought water. Though given his history with beverages in this office, maybe it was better that he hadn't. Finally, the receptionist announced the arrival of the Meridian executives. 4 people walked in, led by a tall woman with short gray hair who Tyler recognized from Meridian's website as their chief operating officer. Richardson made the introductions, and everyone took their seats around the conference table. Mrs. Cho began the presentation with an overview of Horizon's relationship with Meridian and their goals for the new campaign. "And now, Tyler Brooks will walk you through our creative concept," she said. Turning the floor over to him, Tyler stood, took a deep breath, and launched into his presentation. Despite his nerves, the words flowed smoothly as he explained the shift from fear-based security marketing to an enablement approach. "What we're proposing," he concluded, "is positioning Meridian not as the security solution that scares away the bad guys, but as the one that empowers the good guys to do their best work. Freedom to create isn't just a tagline, it's the real value you offer your customers." When he finished, there was a moment of silence. The Meridian COO was writing something in her notebook. Tyler's heart sank. Had he bombed completely? Then she looked up and smiled. "I've been trying to articulate this exact point to our marketing team for months. Our customers don't just want security. They want security that lets them focus on what they actually care about. You've captured that perfectly." Relief washed over Tyler as the other Meridian executives nodded in agreement. Richardson caught his eye from across the table and gave an approving nod. The rest of the presentation went smoothly, with Phil detailing the execution strategy and Mrs. Cho wrapping up with budgets and timelines. By the end, it was clear that Meridian was sold on the new approach. "We love the direction," their COO said as the meeting concluded. "This is exactly the refresh our brand needs." As the Meridian team filed out, Richardson approached Tyler. "Nice work in there. You delivered exactly what I hoped you would." "Thank you, sir," Tyler replied, still riding the high of a successful presentation. "I'm grateful for the opportunity." "You earned it," Richardson said. "And I have a feeling this is just the beginning for you at Horizon." Mrs. Cho joined them, looking pleased. "The client is happy, the CEO is happy. I'd say that's a successful morning." "All thanks to orange juice," Richardson said with a slight smile. Tyler laughed, shaking his head. "I'm never going to live that down, am I?" "Probably not," Richardson admitted. "But there are worse things to be remembered for than a moment of clumsiness that led to a breakthrough campaign." As Tyler walked back to his desk, he couldn't help but marvel at how drastically his situation had changed in just 1 week. From nearly getting fired to earning the respect of the CEO and landing a major client, all because he hadn't been watching where he was going with a cup of juice. Sometimes life's biggest disasters really did lead to the biggest opportunities. 6 months had passed since the infamous orange juice incident, and Tyler's life at Horizon Industries had transformed completely. The Meridian campaign had launched to widespread acclaim in the industry, with several marketing publications featuring it as an example of innovative B2B messaging. What had begun as the most embarrassing moment of Tyler's career had somehow become his biggest breakthrough. On a crisp fall morning, Tyler walked into the office with a spring in his step. He no longer sat in the junior section of the marketing department. After the success of the Meridian campaign, Mrs. Cho had promoted him to a senior creative position with his own small team. His new workspace had actual walls instead of cubicle dividers, and a door he could close when he needed to focus. "Morning, boss," greeted Kelly, a recent college graduate who had joined his team last month. She reminded Tyler of himself when he first started, eager, nervous, and terrified of making mistakes. "Morning," Tyler replied, setting down his travel mug. It was spill-proof, a gag gift from Raj on the 6-month anniversary of what they now jokingly called the juice incident. "The client feedback came in from Patterson Tech," Kelly said, handing him a folder. "They love the concept. Said it was exactly what they were looking for." Tyler smiled as he flipped through the report. Patterson was the third major client his team had landed in the past few months. Their reputation within the company was growing rapidly. "Great work," he told Kelly. "Make sure you share this with the rest of the team. They all contributed to this win." As Kelly left his office, Tyler leaned back in his chair, taking a moment to appreciate how far he'd come. 6 months ago, he was certain his career was over. Now he was leading campaigns and mentoring new employees. Life had a funny way of working out sometimes. His phone buzzed with a calendar notification. Quarterly leadership meeting, 10 a.m., executive conference room. Tyler had been invited to these meetings ever since the Meridian success, though he still felt somewhat out of place among the company's senior leadership. As he gathered his materials for the meeting, Raj appeared in his doorway. "Ready for the big leagues?" Raj asked, grinning. Unlike Tyler, he was still in the same position, though he seemed genuinely happy about his friend's success. "I'm not sure I'll ever get used to sitting at the same table as Richardson," Tyler admitted. "Well, you better get used to it. Word around the office is that you're being groomed for bigger things." Tyler rolled his eyes. "The office rumor mill is always exaggerating." "Is it, though?" Raj raised an eyebrow. "Richardson personally asks for your input on major campaigns. Mrs. Cho treats you like her protege. And let's not forget who else is usually in those leadership meetings." Tyler knew exactly who Raj was referring to. Vanessa Richardson had become a regular presence at Horizon over the past few months, as her law firm was handling a major acquisition for the company. Their paths had crossed several times, and to Tyler's surprise, she always greeted him warmly, sometimes even joking about keeping beverages at a safe distance. "Mrs. Richardson is just being professional," Tyler said, gathering his laptop. "She's like that with everyone." "If you say so," Raj replied, not sounding convinced. "Just remember us little people when you're running the place." Tyler laughed and headed for the elevator. As the doors were closing, a hand reached in to stop them. Tyler found himself face to face with Vanessa Richardson. "Good morning, Tyler," she said, stepping into the elevator. "Leadership meeting?" "Yes, ma'am," he replied, still feeling slightly awkward around her despite their now friendly interactions. "Quarterly review. Please, I've told you before, it's Vanessa," she said with a smile. "I think we're well past the juice incident, don't you?" Tyler smiled back, relaxing a bit. "Force of habit. And yes, thankfully I've managed to keep all beverages contained since then." She laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "I noticed. Though I have to say, if you hadn't spilled that juice, we might never have properly met. Sometimes life's little disasters turn out to be blessings in disguise." "That's a generous way of looking at it," Tyler said, thinking how surreal it was to be having this conversation with someone he had once been terrified of. "It's the only way to look at life," Vanessa replied as the elevator doors opened. "Otherwise, we'd all be paralyzed by our mistakes instead of learning from them." They walked together to the conference room, chatting easily about the upcoming acquisition. Tyler was still amazed at how comfortable he'd become in these circles, when just 6 months ago he'd been the new guy who couldn't even recognize the CEO's wife. The meeting room was already half full when they entered. Devin Richardson was at the head of the table, deep in conversation with Mrs. Cho. He looked up when his wife entered and nodded a greeting to both of them. "Tyler, glad you could join us," Richardson said. "We'll be discussing the new direction for the company's brand identity today, and I want your team's perspective on it." "Happy to help, sir," Tyler replied, taking a seat across from Mrs. Cho, who gave him an approving nod. As the meeting progressed, Tyler found himself actively participating in the discussion, offering insights that were met with thoughtful consideration by the senior executives. His fear of speaking up in these settings had gradually diminished over the months, replaced by a quiet confidence in his abilities. During a break in the meeting, Richardson approached Tyler by the refreshment table. "How are things with the new team?" he asked, pouring himself a cup of coffee. "Going well," Tyler replied. "They're talented and eager to learn," Richardson nodded. "Good. Leadership is about more than just having good ideas. It's about bringing out the best in others." "I'm still learning that part," Tyler admitted. "We all are," Richardson said with a smile. "That's why I wanted to discuss something with you. We're creating a new position, Creative Director for Emerging Markets. It would involve overseeing all our campaigns for tech startups and new industry players. Mrs. Cho recommended you for the role." Tyler nearly choked on his water. "Me? But I've only been with the company for 7 months." "Sometimes experience isn't about time served," Richardson said. "It's about demonstrating an ability to see opportunities where others see challenges. You've shown that quality consistently." "I don't know what to say," Tyler replied honestly. "Say you'll consider it," Richardson suggested. "It's a big step up, with more responsibility and higher expectations. But I think you're ready for it." "Thank you, sir. I'll definitely consider it." As Richardson walked away, Mrs. Cho approached. "He told you about the position?" Tyler nodded, still processing the news. "Why did you recommend me?" "There are people in the department with years more experience." Mrs. Cho gave him a rare smile. "Because you've earned it. Do you remember what I told you the day after the juice incident? That being aware of what's happening around you matters in this company. You took that to heart. You became not just aware but insightful. You see what clients need before they know it themselves." "I still feel like I have so much to learn," Tyler said. "That's another reason I recommended you," Mrs. Cho replied. "The best leaders know they don't have all the answers. They just know how to find them." After the meeting concluded, Tyler returned to his office, his mind racing with possibilities. The creative director position would be a huge advancement, with more than double his current salary and a level of influence he had never imagined having so early in his career. As he sat at his desk, there was a knock at his door. It was Phil, the senior manager who had initially been skeptical of Tyler's ideas for the Meridian campaign. "Heard about the new position," Phil said, leaning against the doorframe. "Richardson's got his eye on you." "Apparently so," Tyler replied. "Though I'm not sure I'm qualified," Phil chuckled. "None of us feel qualified when we move up. That's normal. But for what it's worth, the department thinks you can handle it." "Really? Even you?" Tyler asked, remembering Phil's initial resistance to his ideas. "Especially me," Phil said. "I've been here long enough to recognize when someone has the right stuff. Just don't let it go to your head." "Not a chance," Tyler promised. After Phil left, Tyler's phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "How's my big shot marketing genius today?" He smiled and called her instead of texting back. When she answered, he could hear the smile in her voice. "Mom, you won't believe what happened today," he began, just as he had 6 months ago after his meeting with the CEO. "More juice disasters?" she teased. "No, thank goodness. But remember how I told you things were going well? It's even better now. They're offering me a director position." His mother's shriek of delight was so loud he had to hold the phone away from his ear, just like before. "Some things never changed. I knew it," she exclaimed. "Didn't I tell you everything happens for a reason? That juice spill was the best mistake you ever made." Tyler laughed. "I don't think spilling juice on the CEO's wife is going to become a recommended career advancement strategy." "Maybe not," his mother agreed. "But taking responsibility for your mistakes and turning them into opportunities definitely is. I'm so proud of you, baby." Later that evening, as Tyler was preparing to leave, he spotted Vanessa Richardson waiting by the elevator. He hesitated for a moment, then walked over to join her. "Heading out?" he asked. "Finally," she said with a tired smile. "Long day of meetings." I heard you're handling the Wilson acquisition. That must be keeping you busy, she nodded. It is, but it's also exciting. Growth always is. The elevator arrived and they stepped in together. Devin told me about the creative director position. Congratulations. I haven't accepted yet, Tyler said. It's a big step. But you will accept, Vanessa stated confidently. You're not someone who backs down from a challenge. Tyler looked at her curiously. How can you be so sure? You hardly know me. I'm a good judge of character, she replied. It's essential in my line of work. And despite our unconventional introduction, I could tell immediately that you had potential. You just needed the right opportunity to show it. As they reached the lobby and walked toward the exit, Tyler reflected on how completely his life had changed since that fateful morning. One clumsy moment, one spilled drink, and somehow it had altered the entire trajectory of his career. Well, this is me, Vanessa said, as her driver pulled up in a sleek black car. Good night, Tyler. And for what it's worth, I think you'll make an excellent creative director. Thank you, Tyler replied. And thank you for not holding a grudge about the juice, and she laughed. Sometimes the most unexpected encounters lead to the most valuable connections. Remember that when you're leading your new team. As her car pulled away, Tyler stood for a moment in the cool evening air. 6 months ago, he had been a nervous new hire, terrified of making mistakes. Now he understood that mistakes were inevitable. What mattered was how you handled them. Afterward, he pulled out his phone and typed a quick email to Devin. Richardson, I've considered your offer and would be honored to accept the creative director position. Looking forward to the new challenge. Then he put his phone away and headed home, ready for whatever tomorrow might bring, even if it involved orange juice.